Welcome back to RSA Conference 2022. It's day 3. We're still recording live at the Marriott Marquis. I am your host, Matt Alderman. Joining me for this segment is Chris Cleveland, CEO at Pixim. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, Matt. Great to be here. Great to be back at RSA.
Yeah, I was thinking that you and I had met before somewhere in person, and then I realized it was your co-founder.
That's right. That's right.
And I was like, that's how long it's been since we've been at a physical conference.
Yeah, like 2019 or something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
So some new announcements this week around mobile. We're going to get into the technology a little bit. Matt Mosley was on earlier, talked more about the market challenges. Just give us a quick summary of Pixim's capabilities, and then let's dig into kind of how it works and also the new mobile capabilities that you just released.
Sure. So Pixim is all about detecting and stopping phishing attacks as they're actually clicked and opened in the browser using real-time computer vision technology. So, like Matt was saying, a lot of phishing activity, even though if I'm a CISO, I tend to associate phishing with email or inbox security.
Right.
But the truth is that a lot of the phishing activity is coming in through Discord, it's coming in through Facebook, it's coming in through LinkedIn. So by being able to stop attacks at point of click in the browser, it really doesn't matter where they come from, you're still stopping it.
Right.
And like you mentioned, we recently launched PIXM Mobile. So this is really about being able to stop phishing attacks on any device and any application, which is really where the modern work environment is.
Exactly right. I mean, I use my phone for everything. And so I'm going to get a text message that has a link in it to say, hey, to check the status of your delivery, click this link, right? We're seeing more of those types of attacks. And that's going to render a browser
Yep.
on my mobile device that is now a vector for a scam, right? And so, the mobile use case obviously is a huge use case because we're seeing more and more mobile usage, especially in a remote hybrid workforce.
Yeah, we're really excited to be launching our first mobile product on iOS and for iPhones and iPads. I mean, going back to 2016, the way the DNC was initially breached was actually through Gmail on somebody's iPad. So from the very beginning, there was a lot of motivation to be able to protect that vector.
Yeah, exactly. So how does it work? There's a free plugin.
Yep.
There's a plugin. It goes into the browser. And then you said it's computer vision technology. What was the term you used?
Computer vision, exactly. So computer vision is a fancy word for software that can see. So humans and animals, we have this very well developed hardware in our brains. We can basically see light in the real world. It hits our retinas and we can interpret objects in the world. So you see software like this, that's in Tesla vehicles, that's being used to identify lanes, pedestrians, and other cars. We're putting that capability into the browser and now onto your phone. So that if you open up a page and it looks like Facebook or if it looks like Coinbase, but it's not from an authorized domain, we can give that user real-time feedback before they make a bad decision.
Right. And I think that's the interesting part of the technology is even if I click the link,
Yep.
right? Now let's say my spam filter filters out most of those. Some are going to get through.
Oh, yeah.
I click the link. The next point is to actually look at the page you're going to see if it's a legitimate page. And if it's not, flag the user right there that, hey, wait, this looks malicious. Therefore, I don't put my credentials in there and now have the account takeover happen, right?
Exactly. We're right there at that last line of defense when the page, a login page, actually loads into the browser. So we're really right there as the payload is delivered to the end user, no matter where that link is clicked from. So, of course, we'll protect phishing attacks that are coming in through all these different channels. But, for a lot of our customers, what really resonates with them is like, hey, I'm already protected in my inbox, but I'm not protected from all of these other channels where I'm being targeted. But once you deploy Pixim, you'll also maybe find that your inbox also wasn't as secure as you thought it was as well, because it's very easy to conceal the phishing payload. Like if you're a cyber analyst and you have a phishing link, you open up that link in your own browser, you're actually going to see a pet food website or you're going to get redirected to a 404. But what the end user sees is something totally different. So there's a lot of proxy-aware technology now that's out there that hackers are using again and again.
Right.
And only if you're really right there in the browser observing the same payload that the end user sees are you able to really stop it effectively.
Exactly. So deployment is a plugin. I actually run the free plugin because you guys have a free plugin in the browser, and I've been running it on my Mac since you guys came out a couple of years ago. So I run it on my machine. But what's the corporate use case now? So I have the plugin. All that data's got to go somewhere. So talk me through, like, what does the back end look like? How do people visualize and see what's going on across their employee base from all these different browser plugins that have been installed?
Yeah, we have the free plugin that everybody's welcome to install on their devices and install on their parents' devices. It's always a good idea. For enterprise customers, what we enable is rapid deployment to an unlimited number of devices and centralized visibility into threat data. So I can see all of the links, the phishing links that are getting clicked within my organization. I can see which users are clicking on them. I also have information about the kinds of campaigns that are targeting my users. So I'm going to be able to see, is it Microsoft phishing attacks that are targeting my people? Is my inbox security weak? Are these phishing attacks coming in through Facebook? So I can really organize and search my data based on user, based on types of attack. The other thing I'll just mention here is the telemetry capture that we get. Going back to that point I made about the payload, you get to see the actual HTML and indeed the screenshots that are loaded into the browser.
Oh, interesting.
So you're able to see actually, whether it's Coinbase, whether it's whether it's Facebook, whether it's LinkedIn. We see, a lot of business collaborations happening on WhatsApp. We've seen WhatsApp phishing attacks we stopped. You get to see that kind of browser layer telemetry in the back end, which is really helpful for a lot of our customers.
So what do I do? So I see the data coming in, right? You're creating your own threat intelligence data at the end of the day, right? Because you're actually observing these attacks, the clicks, you're capturing the data. How would an organization then leverage that threat intelligence data? Are they going back then to their web and their email products and updating rules, et cetera? Like, do you see that kind of bi-directional integration with the other tools in the environment?
Absolutely. Whether it's URLs, whether it's IP addresses, sometimes it might be domains that you want to add to your firewalls. You're always empowered to do those kinds of things. Of course, with a product like this, we're really going back to that paradigm of you can actually prevent and stop breaches from happening in the first place, which I know has kind of become an outdated way of thinking about it. But with these new AI capabilities, we're really revisiting that paradigm. So when you actually see something in the threat feed, you have that awareness, you have the kind of the users that are at risk in the campaigns, but the good news is that, the credentials were not entered. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's always that nice fact of being one step ahead of the adversary there.
Yeah, because this has been a challenge for a lot of organizations, especially in a remote workforce environment, is when your employees are outside of your environment, right? Outside of your firewalls, outside of your email protection products, outside of your web gateways, et cetera. How do you protect them from all these ransomware attacks, right? Because the first step is typically a phishing campaign, take over an account so that they can install something malicious, and then it goes from there, right? It's really difficult, but this allows you to do it at scale regardless of where the user is. And I think that's the interesting piece is by doing this and being proactive about it, it prevents the next steps in the kill chain, right? Which is where things get exploited and then spread from there.
That's right. I mean, the browser and the device tends to travel with the users, and we make our extensions, our web extensions, very easy to install on as many devices as you want. So, our pricing is actually based off per user, not per device. So on the one hand, you can deploy our enterprise product to an unlimited number of devices using a centralized device management system, but you can also tell your employees, hey, do you enjoy working from home? You want to keep working from home? Do you like working on personal devices as well outside of our typical environment? We make it really easy to integrate those extra devices in as well so that you get that protection on any device and on any application.
That's great because I use my Teams app on my phone all the time when I'm on the road, like this week, because I don't want to flip open my MacBook, and it keeps rebooting anyways because of a Bridge OS issue between Mac OS on the task. So I don't even know if that machine will boot up. So I use my phone a ton. What if somebody sent me, a Teams link that happened to be malicious? I would never catch it on my mobile device unless I was running something like this. And that's the employee world right now.
That's right. And I think the new attack landscape is already taking advantage of the new work environment.
Right.
They were doing it even before the pandemic, to be honest.
Yeah, but they accelerated it.
But it's been vastly accelerated, exactly.
Yeah. I'm curious about some of the ransomware use cases, right? Because we've seen a lot of news around these different ransomware attacks. As you look at the data you're collecting, because you're collecting across, I imagine, all these browsers, are there specific trends in these data sets that people should be cognizant of as they're out thinking about solutions like this? Like, what are those big kind of 3 or 4 areas of real concern based on the data you're seeing by collecting this for your customers?
Yeah, so over half of the phishing attacks that we're stopping are actually coming in totally outside of corporate email. So that's going to be Facebook primarily. It's also going to be LinkedIn. A huge amount of business communication is now done on WhatsApp and on Slack.
Yeah.
So the challenge there is that I really trust the people that appear to be sending me messages on these platforms.
Right.
So that means that if somebody I trust has their account popped on Slack or WhatsApp that I'm communicating with on a daily basis, if they want to deliver me that ransomware payload, it's going to be extremely easy to do so.
Interesting.
So I think that's definitely something to be wary of. The other trend that we've really seen is that folks are just working on personal devices a lot. So about 25% of the phishing attacks that we stop on our free browser extension that people are used for quote unquote personal use are actually spear phishing targeting their work email. So we've stopped phishing attacks at point of click on personal devices that are targeting industries in power grid, in pharmaceuticals and aerospace, all throughout the pandemic, in fact. So that was also a very common trend that you're seeing people doing a lot of work on their personal devices. So making sure that people are secure. Again, any device, any application, that's really our vision.
Right. Are there parts of the world that are creating more of this type of traffic than others?
Well, I mean,
do you know?
it's really hard to say. I think we're trying to hire more threat analysts right now because we have more threat data than we can currently deal with.
Oh, interesting.
We do have anecdotal cases of, for example, a Facebook phishing attack that was hosted on a Russian server. It was clicked by 7 users over a 5-day period, and that entire time, 90 out of 90 virus total vendors marked it as clean. So there's something about the combination of using this multi-channel targeting and also, being able to really conceal your actual, you're often breaching a legitimate page to host your phishing attack, and it's very, very difficult to detect that payload. So we did notice that hosted on a Russian server. Who knows if it's actually the Russians that are doing it, of course, but of course now it's a very hot topic.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very hot topic.
Yeah.
We just finished our email survey. Bill mentioned this earlier to Matt when they did their interview. Some interesting statistics out of there. One was the rise in business email compromise.
Yeah.
What do you do around business email compromise? Can you protect against some of that? I'm just curious because it seems to be a trending piece in the email security side. And how does Pixim potentially help on a business email compromise?
Well, we're really about that prevention step. So, the step before somebody gets their email compromised, we will pick up that fake Microsoft Outlook login page there at point of click.
Okay.
So we'll really try and nip that in the bud. I think down the line on our roadmap, we're also thinking about ways to have language models and ways understanding how you communicate with your colleagues. So if somebody's communicating with you in a way that looks abnormal, we'll be able to stop that and prevent that too, in case they're trying to get you to, wire money to some account.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's the biggest risk, right? And there's a consumer aspect to this too, because I think a lot of consumers who fall prey to this, they may not be savvy to some of this stuff, right?
That's right.
So obviously you've got the free plugin. Is there a consumer play here? Or are you really still just going to target the enterprise because that's where a lot of this, in a B2B market, we know where the money is. I'm just curious about the consumer play because I could see a consumer use case for this as well.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we love users. We love stopping phishing attacks at point of click. So the more users we have, the more phishing attacks that we're able to stop. We want to be on 50 million devices in 3 to 5 years. We want to be stopping thousands of unique phishing attacks per month. So to the extent that consumers can help us get there, we love consumers. That's why we have a free version on the website.
Right. Exactly right. Chris, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Matt, thank you so much for having me. If
anybody wants to learn more or find the free download, please go to securityweekly.com/Pixim, Pixm. Stay tuned. We have a couple more interviews left today.